because we don't want to just learn another thing. We actually just want to remove the roadblocks and the time vampires from, right? Hey, how many times can you say light, bright, open chef's kitchen before like every real estate listing sounds the same? So if you're sitting there wondering like, how do I make money in the next 2 weeks, right? Research wholesale properties, get them out to investors. They close in 10 days, they pay quickly.
Welcome to Real Estate Leadership Unlocked. I'm Debbie Lariviere, founder of Monter Coaching. We work with brokerage owners, team leaders, and independent firm executives in building profitable and scalable businesses rooted in strategy, clarity, and performance. Let's be honest, AI is everywhere right now, and most real estate agents and team leaders are thinking the same thing. How do I continue to implement and create efficiencies in my business? That's why Rick Janson is here. He is not only a licensed real estate agent, he's an AI expert and a master of maximizing virtual assistants. And he's not here to talk about shiny tools. He's here to solve your problems in your business. In this episode, we dig into the messy middle where most of us get stuck. Writing better listing language and lead follow-ups. Using prompts that actually work to generate efficiencies. He'll offer hacks to improve ChatGPT output and systems that elevate your presentations that will give your clients printed guides to stand out above the rest. Not to mention, he's going to address the gobbledygook method, Rick's go-to strategy for turning rough ideas into gold. Now, if you've tried AI and it didn't work, don't write it off. You probably just didn't know what to ask. Now you will. Hello, welcome. I have Rick Janson with Janson AI here today talking with us about all things AI for realtors. I know when I say that, some of you are very excited about this conversation. Some of you are completely overwhelmed, and some of you are listening because you have no idea what I'm talking about, and you feel like you should because your broker owner, your team members keep telling you that you need to level up. So here we are. We've got one of the leading AI specialists for realtors on with us today. Rick, we're so happy to have you. And what I'd love to do is just kick it off and let you start by sharing a little bit about your background and how AI and real estate intersect in your world.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I got into AI when ChatGPT kind of first burst on the scene, November 2023. Go back a little bit before that. I've been a realtor since 2002. So, as I've progressed through my career, a lot of technology has been introduced. And, you would get text messaging, and emails, and YouTube, and social media, and more social media, and all of this stuff. And really what ended up happening was all of it ended up demanding more time from us. And, that the phone we became slaves to our phone, right? We became video producers and movie producers. And then all of this stuff, right? And so now all of a sudden we're texting at 8:00, we're emailing through dinner, we're scrambling to batch content on a Saturday morning. And none of that really actually makes us money. It's just more that we have to do to cut through the noise. Excuse me. And there is so much noise out there. Your email box is full. It often overwhelms so many people. Text messages blow up, ding, 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 right? And then, how on earth are you supposed to have your blog post or your YouTube video found? And so when AI came on the scene, it was the first technology to actually save us time and to give us time back and to make things more efficient. And that's why I got just so excited about it. Because, I don't know about you, but I think everybody could use just a little more time in their day, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I started getting really into it and started taking like every course I could take, every certification I could take all the way up to MIT. And I really was like, hey, how can I just get out ahead of this? And how can I really, implement this in my own business? And I just went down the rabbit hole so deep that I ended up coaching it and training it, and now do that for about 50% of my job, and 50% I still do real estate.
Oh, wow. Great. And see, that's also nice because you're actually utilizing the technology tips, tricks, best practices in your own business. And sometimes I'll go in and watch a video on some AI platform and I'm like, they don't even have any idea what I'm doing. So it's super beneficial to have you in the field too, boots on the ground.
Yeah, and
I
and
know.
with especially with AI is evolving as fast as it does. I mean, this is going to go right over the head of a lot of people. But when Gemini introduced VO3 a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden now everybody's seeing like Bigfoot and all sorts of crazy things running around on videos. It's like, well, how does that apply to real estate, or should it apply to real estate? And I'm actually in real estate, so I can teach like what does that actually mean for a realtor, right? Well, how can we use AI video as a realtor? Or Gemini, or Google, the ChatGPT is about to release version 5. What's that going to mean,
Wow.
right? It's going to obliterate a lot of what we know about how to use all the different models. But if you don't have somebody in the field actually using it, then yeah, how does it save a realtor time? So one of the things I try to do is, rather than say, hey, here's another shiny object, right? Here's just yet another thing to learn, which is what I see a lot of training do. Like you mentioned, I go from the standpoint of an agent, like, hey, here are real world problems that agents experience. How do we solve those problems with AI? A conversation just like you and me. But if it doesn't know you, if it doesn't know anything about you, if it doesn't know anything about the rules of writing a listing description, if it doesn't know to avoid fair housing guidelines violations, if it doesn't know the 100 best words to use in a listing description, or the 100 words to avoid, or the structure, or who you're writing to, the buyer avatar for your property, then if you just say, hey, write a listing description, it's going to give you junk, right? You're going to get a kindergarten response from a kindergarten prompt. But if you actually provide it with something a little bit more robust, and I'm going to give you one little hack on this in a minute, but if you don't provide it with a little bit more of a input, then it's going to give you kind of garbage out, right? But if you give it doctoral level stuff, it'll give you doctoral level output. But I use it sometimes to reply to a spicy email when it might have gotten me a little fired up. And I'm not going to be the most professional person that I could possibly be on a Monday morning, right? Then I'm going to use ChatGPT to like tone my language down, right? Hey, can you make this a little bit more professional? Or maybe I'm processing a lot of data. I'm trying to look at a property for an investor. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my daughter's cat. It's got a little out on this side. um, yep. So if you want to process a lot of data, all right. So if I'm going to run comps, or if I'm going to do investor analysis, and I want to see the ARV on a property, and I want to know, like, hey, does this fit my investor's buy box? Right? Does this really make a difference to, or does this fit their parameters, 30% ROI or whatever they want to get on a property? Writing blog posts and which, like, oh, Rick, I haven't written a blog post since the 90s, right? Or whatever, the early 2000s. But if you're writing on topical things, then people are going to find you. But how do you SEO that, search engine optimize it? How do you then convert that to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and LinkedIn, which all have a different format and a different audience? Well, ChatGPT can do stuff like that for you. It can research a topic. It can write the topic. It can then convert it to all those different social media formats. And you can have all of your content for the day done in under 30 minutes. And those are just a couple of examples.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing with it too is it's starting to be more and more implemented into these different programs. I know one of the more popular realtor programs is Canva for marketing. And so we're seeing that chat or AI feature being added to the Canva system as well. What's interesting too is blog posts. It makes it so much easier to get back to that, creating articles, even LinkedIn articles, like you said, making that more SEO and searchable, SEO friendly and searchable. I think any of this is great. I heard a comment not too long ago, and it says your specific AI is as dumb today as it will ever be, because the more you feed it or the more you tell it what you want, my favorite word being polished. Can you please polish this like you're saying so that I don't say something ugly? It will only be as dumb as it is today, because you just have to keep feeding it. You just have to keep giving it content. For me, uploading podcasts and having it give me feedback or give me notes or give me more questions. And it also learns my tone, right? How
Well,
we
and you
communicate.
bring up an interesting point, which is that ChatGPT does have a memory, and you can build on that memory. Some of the other AI models don't. Like Gemini is not going to have a model. Perplexity, Claude, like Grok, a lot of the models that you're using um, to get your tone, to get your style, is going to take some work and repetition. And you have to create a tone and style guide and input your tone and style guide every time. ChatGPT, you can actually train it on your tone and style. And just a money saving tip for your listeners: never pay $49 to have ChatGPT sound like you. It's too easy. So don't waste money on that. And I'm going to give you another tip here, where you don't buy prompt packs. You might have seen the internet blow up with, I'll give you 100 prompts that you need as a realtor, or 15 prompts that I use for this and that. The other thing, don't buy a prompt. That's just a total waste of money. So I'm going to give you a little tip right now. I call it the gobbledygook method. And here's how the gobbledygook method goes. So we talked about writing a listing description, and you could type into ChatGPT gobbledygook, right? I want to write a listing description for 123 Main Street. That's it, right? Now go back to the beginning of what you just typed in before you hit enter. Go back to the beginning and say, please create a prompt that will write a listing description. So anything you're wanting to do, just go back to the top, but go to the front of your gobbledygook and say, please create a prompt that first, then hit enter. Now ChatGPT is going to think about it, and it's going to write a prompt that will give you a listing description. And it'll be a lot more robust. And then say and on anything you're doing, say, what else do you need to know from me to do your best work, right? Or to do the best job. And it'll say, thank you so much for asking, Debbie. I actually need to know the price point, the address, the neighborhood, anything special about the property, right? It's going to ask you all these things. But you can also say, hey, can you interpret these photos for me? And you can upload, maybe you went on a listing interview and you just used your cell phone and took 5 quick photos around property. Or maybe you're going on a listing presentation and you found the listing online from beforehand. And you called the seller the day before and you said, hey, have you done any improvements? Did you do a $50,000 remodel of the kitchen or whatever? Let's presume for a second they haven't done any remodeling. You pull the pictures from the last listing, you upload them to ChatGPT, you use the prompt for the listing description, and say, hey, interpret these photos for me, right? And now it's going to pull all the special features from that home, and it's going to describe it in a way you never would have imagined. Going a step further, you can say, well, who's the ideal buyer for this gobbledygook? Please create a prompt that will find the ideal buyer, to describe the ideal buyer for me. And it's called a buyer avatar. And now ChatGPT is going to give you a prompt to create a buyer avatar where you're going to learn the hopes, dreams, fears, desires, goals, objectives of the person who wants to buy the house at 123 Main Street. And then guess what? Now you can say, now write the listing description to this person, interpreting these photos. And if you use ChatGPT's prompts for writing the MLS description and ChatGPT's prompt for creating the buyer avatar, then have ChatGPT interpret the photos and bring all those together, what you're going to have, and then also maybe upload 3 or 4 great listing description examples. Now you're going to get gold, right? Now you can start getting PhD level listing descriptions or blog posts or whatever you might have. But you can see how it goes layered deep, right? Whereas write a listing description is one thing, but now if you go 3 layers deep on it and then you interact with it and you chat with it, and you have ChatGPT, like if you're just endlessly curious, tell me more about that. Or what else do you need to know about me? Make it a first date, right? Have some fun with it. Then you can start iterating on stuff. And now you can start getting real gold out of the back end.
Yeah, I love that, because even like you're saying, if you're doing this as pre-listing prep or pre-listing presentation prep, you're walking into that client that you're doing a listing presentation for with an already created avatar of who the buyer is, right? And I think that's something that we can bring to the table as agents is sitting down with the seller and say, Mr. Seller, Miss Seller, I know who your buyer is. This is who your buyer is, and this is what they see when they see your home. And these are some areas that we can enhance and really just gain maximum exposure. And so I love that you're taking that next step on who is the ideal buyer. It's not just about the listing when you're going into that presentation.
Yeah. Or, maybe, I don't know if anybody in the country is experiencing this right now, but your listing's hanging on the market for a little too long. Anybody feel that? Right.
No one's feeling that.
So all my coaching clients right now, everybody's like, dude, everything's stalling, right? So I went into a stalled listing of mine and just said, hey, ChatGPT, like, here's the market, here are all my competitors. And I uploaded all their listing descriptions, all of their photos. I just printed a PDF, right? A PDF report, because ChatGPT can read 30 images per page for 30 listings in 10 seconds and interpret them all, right? So I did all the listing histories, all the photos, all of everything else, just PDF. And I uploaded and said, here's my competition. Here's my listing. Please provide, why are we stalling out? Give me some examples of what we can do to this property. And then I started uploading the rooms and I said, can you give me staging advice for the rooms? And room by room, it provided staging advice and it gave me shopping instructions for Amazon. I think we ended up with a $500 shopping list. And I created this list of improved staging improvements that we could do. And I fired it off in a tactful email that ChatGPT wrote to my client on a Friday. And I think by Monday, she had the entire house restaged. We got rid of all the mountain plaids, all of the reds, everything else. She went all white with like blue accents, put in nice candles and everything else, and just kind of refreshed the thing. So then I went up on that Monday afternoon and I reshot the listing and we kind of relaunched with a whole different perspective on what this home could look like. Because ChatGPT said, hey, look, you're not keeping up with the Joneses, right? And people want a move-in ready house. And it was a beautiful move-in ready house. Gorgeous. They spent a ton of time remodeling it and repainting it and everything else. But it was the furniture and everything else that kind of made it look like it hadn't, right? So maybe you do that when you're going through and you're saying, hey, I'm going to have my stager take a look at your house. I'm going to make some recommendations when you go on the listing appointment. We'll take pictures of all the rooms and then come up with a list of what to do. I did that with another home on a listing interview. It was an older couple. They've lived there for 25 years. And they said, well, how do we get ready to move? Right. Well, I've been doing this since 2002. I know how to tell them to move, but to type that up would take a long time, right? I don't have 6 hours to create a moving guide for them. So I took a lot of pictures of their living room, their kitchen, their bathroom, everything else. And I had ChatGPT come up with a room by room guide, step by step for this older couple of how to just break down, like, here's what you do on this wall. Here's what you do on this wall. Here's how you get your this ready. Here's how you get that ready. Here's what to pack up here. And it created a whole guide that they're going to go through over the next 3 to 4 months to make the process less intimidating. Moving out of a home you've been in for like forever, probably the only home they've ever owned together, it's intimidating to move out. But I said, here's your room by room guide. Here's the bedroom guide. Here's the guest bedroom guide. Here's the living room guide. Here's the dining room guide. And now I check up on them once in a while. I say, how's it going? Which room are you on right now? How's the guide working out? And they're slowly but surely, seeing what to take off the wall, what to take off the bookshelves, how to remove this and that and the other thing. So couple of little tips for you.
I love that because now you're the expert even further than the pricing of the home, because we pay big money for stagers, and there are a lot of people who would go and do it themselves. They just don't have the eye for it. And I think that's true for some agents. Some agents don't necessarily, they're great at what they do with the sales side. They just don't have the eye for how the home should look. And so what a great value add for your actual clients out there.
Yeah. And that's not for the ultra luxury listing, right? But for the ultra luxury listing, maybe you go in there and say, hey, I've created 3 buyer avatars and 3 descriptions and 3 social media campaigns. Which one, and pushing them across the table, which one do you think is going to be the most accurate buyer for your property, right? Is it going to be this, first time home buyer family? Is it going to be the second home buyer investor? Is it going to be this, that, or the other? And of course, you're never going to mention family or walkability or any of the things that we're not allowed to mention and shouldn't mention. But you can present them with 3 different advertising and marketing campaigns already laid out.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure your other listing agents, that are interviewing have already done this, right? They're going to be like, no. So how do you stand out as the expert, right? And on
Yeah.
my end, I'm a little laggy and buggy. Is it fine on your end? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. And it will catch up with
Okay,
the
good.
uploading. Yep. Yep. You'll be fine. What I think is interesting too, when you're talking about those pieces, it's how much time did you actually spend to create those guides?
Very little. I
Minimal?
mean, all of
Yeah.
this stuff, I can do in minutes now. Right. So when a wholesaler sends over a property and they've got their inflated after repair values, the ARVs, right? My investor doesn't want to see, hey, 123 Banana Street just came on the market. Do you want to take a look? No, they want me to do the analysis. But do I have time to do analysis on 10 to 15 off-market properties that come into my inbox every day? No, just running comps on those every single time would take over an hour. But now I used to do that, 5 years ago or 3 years ago, I'd go on an ARPR, here's a value, Zillow, here's a value, and maybe Redfin, here's a value. I'd blend them. I'm like, hey, it's roughly this. You want to take a look? Because I didn't have the time and I wanted a model, right? I wanted somebody's algorithm to do the work for me. Well, with ChatGPT, now it can do the work for you. So you can quickly run your comps in your MLS and upload them to ChatGPT, put in the wholesale property, say, analyze this for me on behalf of an investor. Tell me what's, the remodel cost is going to be based off of local market conditions. Tell me, what are likely low, medium, and high exit strategies going to be. That's the gobbledygook. Go back up to the beginning. Please create a prompt that. It'll create a prompt that will do all that for you. And you'll find the prompt gets really, really long, something you could never write. But now it wrote its own prompts. You copy and paste that out, upload all the comps and your property, and now watch the beauty it spits out. So I did this for a client one time. Property came in. 10 minutes later, I had an email off to him. 20 minutes later, he actually left work to go to a property to see it because it was like one of those, we're showing at 11 and taking bids. And he actually wrote an offer on the property. He missed by $5,000, but he said, Rick, please keep sending these to me because I appreciate your analysis. It was enough to get him out of work and to go and scratch a check. Well, that would have led to a 10-day closing, which would have led to a payday for me in 10 days. So if you're sitting there wondering, like, how do I make money in the next 2 weeks, right? Research wholesale properties, get them out to investors. They close in 10 days. They pay quickly. There are people with cash who are buying homes right now. Go find those people and go work for those people, but do the analysis that they don't have the time to do.
Yeah. And as you're building this, are you, like I always say, the more you store in the ChatGPT, the smarter it gets. Are you utilizing each of those properties? So if we've got investor A who wants this type of property and now he's looking at a different property, do you cross-reference any of that, or you just start all over with, hey, create a prompt that will, and here's the data?
No, so you can go into any single chat in ChatGPT has internal memory as well. So if I upload a buy box for buyer one and I go back to that chat, you can go back into buyer one's chat and say, hey, now let's analyze this one. Now let's analyze this one. Now let's analyze this one. And it will remember the buy box from before.
Right. So I have to ask this question because some listeners are out there going, okay, ChatGPT, I have the free one. It works just great. It tells me my memory's full. But beyond free, where do you recommend agents go as far as the investment within that type of system?
Sure. So ChatGPT, their next version up is $20 a month. And of course, all this may change in the next 2 weeks or a month as they release new stuff. But the $20 a month version is the best $20 a month you can spend. I mean, do a 1-day fast, cleanse yourself, spend that money if you have to, right? Whatever you're doing, but $20 a month, anybody can find. And I don't make a dime on it, but it's the best $20 you could ever invest in your business. Just all the new tools, all the new analytical models. There are models for advanced reasoning, fast reasoning, writing, deep research. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. The deep research is beautiful. All the different things that you can do with the $20 a month version, the way it stores memory, the way it starts learning about you, all those things, it just opens up a whole new world. And I'm not going to sing from Frozen. Sorry.
Well, that would have been extra. Well, I'll expose a little bit about myself too. So, I'm like you, I've been in the real estate industry for quite some time, and I used to do the annual subscriptions because you save 10, 12, 15, 17%. And I've gotten to where I've stopped doing that because, like you said, it's rolling out so quickly that then you're locked into this. And I use the Fixer app, Fyxer, for my email. And it comes with like the calendar solution. So I was using a different calendar solution where you can go and book with me, and now this comes as part of it, and it's, a small fee. And so that's where too, I'm curious in your thoughts on the monthly versus the annual with some of these products that are rolling out.
Yeah, almost always anymore I'm doing monthly because they are replaced so fast. And Fixer is a great example. It can do what Otter can do. It can do what Calendly can do. It can do what Jace can do. It can do all these other things, right? But I also am bad about then monitoring my subscriptions. So if you start going down this AI rabbit hole a little bit, watch your bank account every once in a while and go in and see what am I still being auto billed for, right? That I no longer use, right? It was a miracle 3 months ago, and it's been totally replaced 6 months later. But go into your bank account and make sure you're not getting these little $10, $19, $29 drips, because they do add up. And all of a sudden you can realize, wow, I'm spending $300 a month and I'm not even using these tools. But also, if I may caution, don't just go tool shopping. Once you start buying a tool, you're going to get Facebook algorithm to death, and you're going to have 85 more AI tools. And they're all going to look shiny and great. But don't buy a tool for a tool's sake. Look at your problem and then see if there's a solution for your problem with AI. Hey, I need to clean up my CRM. Okay, what programs are out there? What AI solutions are out there that will help me skip trace and validate emails? We'll go into ChatGPT, use the web research function, or go to perplexity.ai, and which I always use for research. And I say, Perplexity, how can I skip trace phone numbers? How can I clean my emails? And it'll provide some solutions. Well, tell me more about that. Which should I use and why? And which should I use and why is one of my favorite questions. And so it'll start going through. It'll create a table for you of all the different tools and all the different pros and cons. And then, given my situation, what would you use? Okay, I would probably recommend one of these two. Now you can go and do your deep research. It's already done the research for you. It's narrowed your options, which saved you time. Again, our whole goal is to save time. And then now you can go and look at the top two and see which one of the operating systems you like. Some people like Android, some people like Apple. They're both great phones, but you're always going to have a preference. But now you started with your problem. You used AI to research your solution, and now you're going to implement that solution to solve a real problem. Now you're saving time, as opposed to just finding this cool new tool and then trying to figure out, well, what the heck do I do with it?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I see some of the core core areas where agents are really looking for that efficiency solution are in areas, like you said, for lead generation, their marketing, some follow-up stuff. And so that's where I like the idea of not just go and find one, or this team in my office uses it, so this is the right solution for me. But that's a great idea to go in and ask chat based on what you know, here's my pain point. What do you recommend? And then whittling that down.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can do that for buying a car. You can do that for buying a TV, anything, right? Just ChatGPT, what are the top 5 for this? Which should I use and why?
Well, and what's interesting is, and I think I spoke with this about this on a previous podcast, or maybe it was just in our coaching master classes, but I always encourage my clients to go and chat GPT themselves. Like, who are the top 3 brokerage coaching coaches for this level of production or this size of a brokerage, and see if your name pops up, right? Who is the top luxury agent in Santa Monica, California? If you're a luxury agent in Santa Monica, California, and your name doesn't come up, then ask, okay, chat, how do I become in the top 3 of luxury agents in Santa Monica, California? And it's interesting too, because now I will go through, and as much as I'm feeding it, it now tells me, like, if someone like what we used to, Yelp, do the Yelp, they can find they are utilizing AI for who should I call? Who should I talk to? What restaurant should I eat at? What system should I be using? And it's just another form of SEO to promote your business, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's called GEO, and there's a whole way to teach that as well. But I have a client in Hawaii who has always written blog articles, but now he's using ChatGPT to write them better, write them more frequently, and now he's starting to show up in the online AI searches, right? When people are using AI, he's showing up there as the solution. And when you do this consistently, and you can do it consistently because you're saving so much time, then you can start showing up in places like that. But I do want to put one word of caution is if you're doing more than 2 deals a month, honestly, anybody should, but if you're actually in production, if you're doing more than 1 to 4 deals a year, right? If you're doing this as a full-time profession, you need to reach a point where you're actually not doing most of this. Because still writing a blog post, doing Facebook posts, cleaning up your email database, none of that is $500 an hour work. And if you want to make $1 million a year, $1 million GCI, which is $500 an hour, you can't be stuck doing $10 an hour tasks. And so I'm going to speak for a second to the top producing teams and luxury agents and top producers, which is that ultimately you need to be hiring a virtual assistant that's leveraging AI. You, anytime you're interacting with a computer, need to be using AI to do what you still do more efficiently with AI. So you still need to know how to do some of this stuff. But a lot of what I end up teaching is our goal is within 1 to 3 months is to have you get that paycheck where you can start hiring a VA. And now, the VA over the course of 30, 60 to 90 days as they ramp up and start getting you new lead flows going and get new systems going, will end up paying for themselves 10 times over. But you eventually have to get yourself out of the administrative tasks, because if you don't hire an executive assistant, you are your own, right? If you don't hire your own social media person, you are your own. And we think we're saving money. We think we're saving all this stuff because we're doing it ourselves. But that's only if there's not an opportunity cost to your time.
Yeah. I love that. And again, I think there is a fear around hiring a VA, or they had a VA way back in the day when it was more of inbound, outbound calls, and it didn't work for that piece of it. And so expand a little bit on what pieces of the business the VA is able to take over by the use of AI. I know you mentioned a couple here, but what specifically are you seeing top performers utilize those VAs and AI for?
Yeah, and just a word to that is, I had a bad seafood pizza once and I got food poisoning. But I still eat pizza and I still eat seafood. I went on a bad date once, but I still went out on a second one with somebody else, right? So there's always going to be that experience where it happened to me poorly once or twice or 3 times. Well, then start taking a look in the mirror, right? If you had 3 bad first dates, maybe you're not that great at first dates. And maybe you need a dating coach to get you better at going on that first date, being inquisitive and not always talking about yourself, and actually showing interest in the person across the table from you and having a little bit of livelihood and being able to tell a joke, right? So the same thing goes for a VA. I've hired VAs before in the past, and I was horrible at it. I didn't know how to delegate my work. I didn't give them training manuals. I didn't take the time. Took so much time to offload what's in my brain to put it into standard operating procedures, and then the weight of monitoring them. And it's just all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming and I didn't want to do it. But now ChatGPT can come along and you can say, well, I use Follow-Up Boss, right? So how am I going to teach them Follow-Up Boss? Well, first of all, there are 4,000 videos on YouTube teaching someone how to do Follow-Up Boss. But second of all, now you can go on with Tango or Guide or a number of other different programs and actually create step-by-step implementation. And it will actually track your every mouse click and write step-by-step guides. So anything you can do once, you record it, make a standard operating procedure for it or a training video for it. Do it once while you're recording it. You can also use Loom, but do it once, record it, and now share that recording with your VA. Now they can do it in perpetuity. So anything that's so difficult, using your Compass system or using your KW command, whatever it is, do the video with Guide or Get Tango or one of these other programs, and then have that become a library. And everything you're doing right now, start thinking, what could I offload? What's on my list of I should never do this again? Record all those things and start building a library. And now you have a library of things you can hand off, but you also have the training manuals to do it.
Yeah. That's great. And I'm thinking of myself, and maybe I'm your future coaching client. I'm thinking of myself in this piece of, yes, I don't want to do it, and I don't necessarily have the time to go and learn it, to create the video, to say this is how I want it done. So I think that probably is a stall point in someone's business where they say, well, I do want this VA. I do want them to add blogs to my or articles to my website or create these follow-up programs. I just don't know how to do it myself. I don't have the wherewithal to go create the video. And
Right.
so are you seeing VAs showing up with more knowledge around AI without having to be trained in using those?
Absolutely. So the company that I'm an authorized dealer for, we've hired 10,000 VAs in the past 5 years. About 70% of those were for real estate agents. So every job description under the sun, every business model under the sun, every team dynamic and situation or individual agent situation they've seen. And so when you have your onboarding interview, first we determine like who you actually need. Everybody's like, well, I just need more leads. Well, maybe you don't, right? If you don't have a way to actually receive those leads and actually do something with them, you're just going to be pouring a whole bunch of stuff into a funnel that goes into the garbage. So maybe we need to build something else first and then build this and then build this. So the company actually knows how to run a successful real estate business. So they know how to help you hire and then help you train. And so they go out and they interview 100, 150 people. They bring you back 4. You just have a Zoom call. You figure out who you can talk with easily, who you can communicate with easily. And then they train you how to use a VA as well as the VA, how to do their job. And at $4, they have to train them how to do the job. But at $10 an hour, they actually bring in 5 to 10 years of experience. They can probably do it better than you. Video editing, social media posts, marketing, executive assistant, whatever that might be. And so they can come in with a little or a lot of experience. But then and then the company stays with them and has training every single week on how to do their job better, how to use the new tools, how to do this, that, the other thing. But you can also then say, hey, ChatGPT, can you create a week 1 guide for my VA who's coming on to do this job? What do you need to know about the job to provide a better SOP? Well, I need to know this. I need to know this. What else do you need to know? I need to know this. I need to know this. Okay, boom. Now you've got a week 1 guide, 9 to 5 of everything they should be doing. Okay, can you write some standard operating procedures about how to create a blog and how to post it to LinkedIn and Facebook and how to use ChatGPT to do this? ChatGPT will create the standard operating procedures. It'll create the training manuals. It'll do things that you don't know how to do. Maybe you're hiring someone to do CapCut for video editing. Well, if they don't know how to do it, A, again, go to YouTube. There are 4,000 videos on how to use CapCut. But B, you can have ChatGPT create a step-by-step guide of how to use CapCut or any video editing tool or any other tool. And I always say, well, first, like ChatGPT, are you familiar with CapCut? Well, yes, I am. I've been trained on it. Great. Can you tell me exactly how to do X, Y, Z? There it is. Okay, well, there's my training manual, right? So anything that a VA doesn't know how to do, they can learn to do very quickly, or you can teach them how to do very quickly. And so the speed with which you can bring someone on and train them and get them proficient is just amazing. Well, how do I measure the KPIs? ChatGPT, how do I measure the KPIs, the key performance indicators, right? What should we be measuring? What should we be doing? I'm going to have a morning huddle tomorrow. What should we talk about? Right? 15 minutes every morning to get them on the same page as you. ChatGPT, I don't know how to have a morning huddle. Well, why don't you do this? Okay, great. Thanks. And like, make me a better boss, right? Make me a better employer, because this is a human on the other end that wants to do good work. They really want to please you. They really want to help you achieve your goals. But if you don't tell them, just like if you hired Susan or Rodrigo or somebody to sit right next to you and work with you, you'd still have to teach them and train them a little bit on what you do and how you do it. But ChatGPT can help do that now so much smoother, better, faster. And then they can write in your voice. They can do your systems. You built custom GPTs and you're training them to use your custom GPTs. So now they're doing work exactly like you would do it. And they can do it with very little knowledge. I could go on. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sitting here listening to you thinking of all the people that need to hear this message. So I'm certain we will be pushing this podcast out heavily, because you're right. You make it digestible, right? And like you said, if you don't know how to do it, ask chat in the form of a question, right? Like Alex Trebek would say. And then really building on that and having chat create those discrepancies and where you may have lack of skill set or where to go find it and that sort of thing. So I love that, creating the guides and asking for those. It's funny with KPIs, I do that with team members too. I'll often say, okay, this is where they want to go. This is where they've been. What are we missing? And it'll throw in something so obscure, but so simple that help you with those KPI measurements. So all good stuff. Patrick Lencioni is going to have his next book, and so he did the death by meeting, right? He'll have chat write that book. Speaking of outside of the agents, I work with brokerage, and I know there's brokerage firm leaders listening to the podcast. Where are you seeing outside of just the language models for brokerages and SOPs, that sort of thing? Are you seeing AI being used for brokerage firm growth at all?
Absolutely. And a lot of the training out there is always towards the agent, right? And it's how to write a listing description, how to write a blog post, how to do all these things. One of the things that I end up showing brokerages is how to use it to run your business. And that's a real core part. I mean, I'm sure you coach to those people and they're very low. I'm not saying don't coach with Debbie because you should coach with Debbie. But when you're learning AI, you have different problems than an agent does. And so if you're just saying, hey, I just learned all of these new tools, how do I apply them to my business? Again, you're going top down and it's not the way to solve it. But the way to do it is to go in and say, here are the problems I have as a brokerage. How can AI help me? And that's where you really start making some leaps and bounds. And every brokerage is going to be different. Your time vampires are going to be your own. Your roadblocks are going to be your own. But what sucks your time can be solved by AI. Or maybe you're like, well, I don't know how to crunch these numbers. Well, there are amazing ways to crunch spreadsheets and sheets and sheets and sheets of data. I'm doing that for some commercial properties. I'm doing some off-market commercial consulting on how to acquire some rather large buildings. Well, we're crunching those financials with AI. Now, you still always have to check the work. Please, ChatGPT is not done hallucinating. You might think it is, but it will make stuff up. So, because it kind of gets confused between all your threads and everything else in the world it's doing because it's making billions and billions of calculations a second. So you still always have to check your work. Don't say, hey, because I crunched the numbers, this is what it is. No, bring your own personal and professional expertise and double check the work, just as if you hired a PhD coming out of MIT and said, do this work, and they gave it to you, you'd still want to check the work. Odds are it's going to be good because it's a PhD from MIT. But that being said, double check the work and make sure that there's not a typo or there's not an error or there wasn't a glitch in the calculations. Because some people will say, hey, I tried AI and it didn't work for me. Just like I tried a VA, I tried a date, I tried a pizza, I tried this shrimp from that place. And if it's shrimp from that place, maybe don't go to that place, right? Because seafood's a whole different thing. I used to be a restaurant manager at a seafood restaurant. But that being said, when you're looking at it and say, okay, yeah, I used to get bad results, 50% of the time. Now I only get bad results 1 out of 100 times, but there's still going to be that 1 out of 100. So always check it, always personalize it, always come back to it, inject your human voice, verify the numbers. But whether you're a brokerage owner or just an agent starting out, you can compete against much, much larger entities with much, much larger staff if you leverage AI appropriately.
Yeah. Yep. Great. And so one thing, I'm just going to take it one step further. I attended the T360 Leadership Summit and then the Housing Wire conference over the past 6 months. And one thing that several speakers spoke of were AI agents. So of course, in real estate, we're like, oh, now we have AI real estate agents. No, not that. AI agents being used. How are they being used? What else can we do outside of ChatGPT that helps us create efficiencies? What are some of those pain points being solved through AI agents? I guess, what is it?
AI
also?
Agents refers to a lot of different things. And so depending upon who you're talking to, they're going to be talking about something different. Oftentimes when I hear someone use the word AI agent, they're actually building like a custom GPT and they're trying to upsell you to buy something because I built an agent. They wrote some code to write a custom GPT, which I can teach you to do in about 5 to 10 minutes. So don't pay for a lot of those as well. But I built a custom marketing agent. I built a custom social media agent. I built a custom YouTube agent. Oftentimes, those people are just talking about building a custom GPT. And like right now, like I said, it used to be I could do something faster than I could delegate it, so I would just do it. Now I can build a custom GPT faster than I can do it. So anything I'm going to do more than once, I'm building a custom GPT to do. So now my custom GPT, which is basically like a tiny little digital person, think about it that way. I'm building a tiny little digital agent to do things for me that I'm going to do more than once. There's another kind of agent that's actually been in use for years and years and years before ChatGPT ever came out, which is really back-end agentic AI, doing much larger reasoning, interacting with itself, doing all sorts of crazies. Most real estate agents will never touch that. And if they see it, they won't see it. They may benefit from it because it's going to be built into the back end by super AI geeks and nerds that are getting paid 10-figure signing bonuses. But that's where that stuff comes in, right? So the
And
true agentic AI is the stuff we'll actually never touch.
yeah. And where I've heard the reference is, like you're saying, around creating efficiencies with compliance or transaction coordination, or like you said, team specific protocols that they run for different, first phone call to closing, checklist type things. And that's what I'm hearing, that they're building out, like you said, building out their own specific, but it sounds like you said, it's just, they're building basically a chat that works as a workflow for their business.
Right. And they're saying, I do something, I do it more than once. I'm going to build a custom GPT around this so that now I can hand this off to somebody and it can be done consistently every single time.
Yeah. Love it. All right. So what's coming next? What should we be on the lookout for? What pain point is AI going to solve for us as we look into the next, call it 6 months, because it changes so rapidly?
It does change so fast, and it's crazy when you look at like AI videos right now, for example. And I mentioned VEO3 that came out with Google, and if you put in Google Flow, and VEO3, it'll show you what's happening. But even just recently, they went from being able to create videos from text, so text to video. And when this first came out, the beginning of the year or a few months back, whatever it was, you could create a picture of someone walking down a rain-soaked street and the lights would be shimmering off the street. And it was like, wow, you can create what? And all these videos, like people were creating B-roll for videos that looked very, very hyper realistic. Well, then it went further, and now you can actually have lip synced voice to someone you dreamed up. Right? Create a coach, a Caucasian coach with long blonde hair, great smile and glasses, and make her say this in the voice of this. And all of a sudden, like you can have someone walking and talking down a street and then all of a sudden getting stomped on by an elephant, right? Like it's crazy, like what can happen. But that is now, and right now that's 8 seconds at a time, but I'm sure that then you can stitch them together. You can get consistent characters now. That just happened like bam, bam, bam. So all of a sudden now you can create a storyboard and have the same character show up over and over and over, which is why you're seeing like these Bigfoot videos and some other crazy stuff that's going on online. Not that I endorse their content or anything else, because some of it's offensive. But that being said, like that's what's capable, right? So if you're trying to get someone's attention, and that's now VO3 is now being embedded in YouTube because Google owns all this stuff, right? Well, if you can create 8-second short AI captivating videos with YouTube with no camera crew, no production, nothing, right? Just you typing and boom, it's done. And now it's natively embedded in YouTube. It's going to be so much harder to be found because there's so much more noise. The cream will still rise to the top. You can still create better content, but should you become the world's best realtor at creating AI videos, or should you just be across the kitchen table forming a relationship, getting someone to know, like you, and trust you with the biggest transaction of their life? You probably should be across the kitchen table, but you might want to start hiring somebody who can get you, some of these captivating hooks so that your listing still gets attention, your social media post still gets attention. You can hijack a current trend. All these different things you want to be able to still do, but you should not be doing them. Does that make sense? So
Yes, it
just even within this video create, I use that as just like a microcosm of what's happening in AI in general, because the videos portion has happened so fast. And so many competitors have come out, and now everybody's saying, well, you can do it on our platform. Well, guess what? 20 people said that their software does it, but it's all run by Google anyway. They just created an interface overlaid on VO3. So video came out, and 2 days later, there were 20 software companies claiming they did it. They don't. They just have an interface that interacts with the flow and the VO3. So be careful of all the scammers. Be careful of all the quick money takers. They're not all scammers, but they are all quick money takers, and they're brilliant. Excuse me. And they don't even have to be brilliant, because ChatGPT makes them sound brilliant. It writes their code. It writes their website copy. It does their design. It creates their images. So you can literally create a website start to finish in 5 minutes with having ChatGPT create all the images, all the HTML code up, and everything's done for you, all the calls to action. It's just really, really insane. And where it's going to go in the next 6 months is anybody's guess. I know ChatGPT right now has like 6 or 7 different models: 3.0, 4.0, 4.5, 4.2, 4.5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? I was like, those are not accurate numbers. But that being said, they're coming out with ChatGPT 5, which then is going to self-select between all of their different models. So it'll know whether it's doing advanced reasoning, mini reasoning, whether it's doing code, whether it's doing writing, and it'll self-select for you. I was playing around for a little while with a $200 a month version of ChatGPT, because I could do more deep research. I could do more advanced reasoning, because they were kind of rationing it to people, saying, hey, we're releasing this, but it eats a lot of resources. It's taking a lot of energy. It's sucking a lot of water. It's doing all the things that people are criticizing AI for doing. But it was rationing them. So I was like, I don't want to be rationed. I'm coaching this. I want to be deep in it. So I was paying $200 a month for a while, and I got more access to more tools. Well, fast forward 3 to 6 months. Fast forward 3 to 6 months, all those tools now are free, because it's advancing so fast. So whatever someone's paying for today will probably be free in 3 to 6 months. Whatever you want to do that someone created a little solution for is probably going to be natively embedded 3 to 6 months. Like, just look for ChatGPT and AI and Gemini to just keep leapfrogging, inhaling. Like, there used to be stores for buying all sorts of little add-ons. Well, those are gone, because ChatGPT can do all the little add-on stuff, right? Someone made money for about a year, and then they're gone. Their whole business blew up because they just got swallowed. ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, all the big ones are spending $1 billion a month right now combined to build data centers, which is going to run all of this computing power. So $1 billion a month. They're reopening 3 Mile Island, right? To get more power before it hits the grid, so that they can get more power into, and they can cool all these data centers, and they can do all this stuff. Like, it is a huge, huge thing, right? When you think about that kind of money, that kind of resource being brought to bear, if you're not embracing this now, you really are just sitting there with blinders on, just praying I can make it to the end of the month and no one's going to swallow me whole.
Right. Well, and one key thing that you said just a bit ago was this business is about relationships. And with AI is not going to replace you. It's going to enhance you. And the key being implement what needs to be implemented to create efficiencies and elevate your product that you're offering your clients, and still build a relationship, right? Because if you're going on 6 first dates, again, you have to go back to, or my joke's that bad, right?
Exactly. And I went down a rabbit hole because I'm passionate about this topic, even when I'm a little congested. So I apologize for the coughing. But the whole point of all of this is to free up your time so that you're spending more time with humans, right? That's all this is about. I don't want you to become an AI expert. I don't want you to become a systems expert, all this other stuff. The whole goal is just stop doing all of the garbage that's been thrown on us for 20 years. It's just been building up. Cut through all that noise, do it more efficiently. And, social media, the only goal is to meet your new best friend, right? All the advertising you're doing, the Zillow leads, it's just to find your new best friend. Someone you can literally just have over on a Friday night for steak and wine, talk about the day, learn about their kids, not care, give a hoot whether they're actually buying or selling or not, But then they go out tomorrow, they're at the grocery store, they have a conversation with someone they just ran into from high school that's selling a house. They don't have a realtor, and they remember you because you just had steak with them last night. Like, that's where the deals happen, right? When people get referral business, that's what it is. But it's making those, touch points consistently, but efficiently, not having to write every single email every single time, not having to, worry about what to say every single time. Not, it's making all those touch points. It's doing all those things more efficiently so that you can be across the kitchen table more often, building more authentic relationships, getting them to know, like, and trust you, because that's where your business comes from. Thank you for bringing that
Absolutely.
back home. That was an excellent point.
Yes, you are welcome. Well, if they've made it this far in the podcast, I'm curious, can you share with us the VA company that you are working with, or is that something that they need to reach out to you directly? And if that's the case, how do they find you over in Denver, Colorado?
So for VAs, you can go to tinyurl.com/RicksVA, RICKSVA. So tinyurl.com/RicksVA. It'll take you to a little booking link where you can have a 45-minute onboarding call, just free consultation. You're going to get forwarded to a different company. It's not going to say Rick, but I rep that company. And when you hire through that company through me, I actually then lend AI support to your hire, right? So when you bring on somebody, I make sure that they're trained up on AI tools. And that's just my little value add for going through my link. But you can find me at janson.ai. That's JANSON.ai, janson.ai. There are booking links to just book a free call with me and to do an AI analysis of your business. You can buy playbooks, you can enter coaching, there's all sorts of stuff there, but janson.ai is the best way to get a hold of me.
I love it. And for all your Denver referrals, check out Rick as well, because he, like you said, he's still active. And if not, maybe he has someone that he can pass you along to. So thank you so much for all of your wisdom. This has been hugely helpful. And if you could see the notepad on my table, I have created so many notes. I'll be booking my call with you around the VA piece and see what else is out there for efficiencies for our clients together as a coaching group. And we look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks so much, Debbie. It's been great being on here.
Thank you. Take care.